Hi, my name is Alejandro Pérez Pérez, and this is the AI Coffee Podcast. Every week, we will have one episode regarding one disruptive aspect of technologies for the time to drink a cup of coffee. Today, we are going to talk about a really disruptive topic. So, first of all, I would like to do a small disclaimer. I want just to add that the purpose of this episode is only to make you aware of some of the latest research. And also, as you might have noticed, English is not my mother language, so I prefer to say sorry in advance for any kind of nuance or bad word or something that could be misunderstandable. So thank you for understanding this. And to start this episode, I would directly ask you if you think that your face is gay or conservative or criminal. What do you think about that? Do you think that we all have personal traits in our faces? What's your opinion about that? What do you think? Is it possible that we have gay face? So, I don't want to frighten you, but the answer is yes. So, according to one article I recently read in thebulletin.org that appears in May 2022, that I will add you to the notes of the episode. So, according to this article, there are some research regarding the facial recognition that I will explain you later what it is, for the ones that you might not have heard about that. But apparently, there is a high percentage of probability that an algorithm could predict if we are gay or not, or if we are conservative or liberal, or even if we are a criminal somehow. So it feels really strange and really weird, but everything comes from a paper appearing in Nature. So it makes me confident about talking about this thing because it feels like there is a serious research about this idea. So the paper I'm talking about, I will add it to the notes of the episode as well. It's written by Michal Kosinski. So sorry if I pronounce it wrongly. And it appeared at 11th of January 2021. So the idea of this research is that if you take a huge amount of images of faces and you train an algorithm to say, okay, this part of the pictures that you have seen are from gay people or straight people or any kind of category of people, the system can directly learn how to cluster new kind of pictures. And apparently it's working well. Think that this research has been done mostly in 2020. So it's like already 2 years almost after all of this research. And at this epoch, so 2 years ago, that it's a huge amount of time for technology, the accuracy for this research was around 72% for AI to determine political orientation and 76% for determine the sexual orientation of a person by only looking at the face. And also their research is really interesting because they compare it to sociologues and humans that were in charge also to try to think about these two topics looking at the same picture. So they were like taking experts and think about if they were able to determine the sexual orientation or the political orientation for these people. And humans are not so good at all. Humans are only right around 55% of the time. Which is what you might think that it's a lot, but actually it's not. Because the normal thing, the statistical thing would be around 50, because you have only two choices, to be right or not. So 50 would be the average, and 56, it's really, really a little bit more. So AI at this moment is able to be better than ourselves to determine the political or sexual orientation for a person. And of course, if you train even better the system with more pictures, the system would be even better. So just for this specific research, they have been using 1 million pictures. which is quite a lot, but actually it's not so much. Imagine how many pictures a big company as Meta or Google could have. So think about that. Think how many pictures of people would this kind of banks of pictures have. So the potentiality of this kind of algorithms is really huge. And of course, it could be really dangerous because only talking about sexual orientation, for example, there are quite a lot of countries where at this moment being part of the LGBTQ community is considered as a fault or even a crime. And regarding Human Rights Watch, it's around 67 countries in the world at this moment that has any kind of legal consideration against LGBT people. So imagine that it could be really dangerous for these people because if there is an algorithm that can predict their sexual orientation, it could be really dangerous for them. So the conclusions about this would be that ethic should be guaranteed somehow. Or what do you think about that? Do you think that we should stop this kind of research? Or do you think that the research itself it's not unethical, but the use of that could be? So I talked before about facial recognition, and maybe most of you might know what it is, but facial recognition would be a part of the AI that could see from our faces who we are first. So, for example, there are systems in United States at this moment or in China, they are really known, that can predict from our movements or our way of walking or even our face or head can predict who we are and identify ourselves wherever we are from all the cameras that are in the streets or in the public transport or wherever. And then the next step that many of the governments and companies are doing is trying to cluster people. I mean, trying to categorize people among different categories so that we can extract data from the people. So imagine, for example, if we were able to determine which part of the society use more public transport, we can also connect this data with other kind of data from other data sources. So it would be really helpful somehow, but also it could be really dangerous. But still, the line dividing which it's good or bad, it's for me it's really thin. As for example, there are really good applications from facial recognition related to medicine, for example. So there are at this moment a lot of research about if it's possible to recognize a skin cancer from the face of a person. I will also add some links related to this research because it feels for me also a quite interesting idea that maybe humans are bad comparing images or comparing images from what we remember and what we see at this moment. We are biased. We have our own thoughts. Robots or AI or algorithms do not. So they can easily compare from what they think. So they can easily compare from a database, a data set of pictures, train themselves, and have really interesting outcomes so that they will be able to predict maybe the behavior of skin cancer or even a larger amount of questions that doctors don't think about. So it is a really interesting research for me, but ethics should be there every time, should really involve the whole research about that, so as unethical governments or platforms or governments could not use any of these conclusions to attack or be against any group of the society. So as we were talking before. So to conclude this episode, I want to ask you about your opinion about this. Do you think that we need to control this? In the European Union, we think quite often about trying to regulate this before it is made. And I know that in other countries, as I told you, as United States or China, they already have these systems. And in China, it's like really, really a big debate because it's comparing also this with this system that they have of giving points to the citizens. So they have a lot of cameras everywhere and they can see if you are a thief, you want to do a crime or something. So it could really be a solution for crime, but is it really a good solution? Like, even though it could be potentially a solution for crime, don't you think that this is like a Michel Foucault panoptic? Don't you think it is somehow related to this? If you want, you're more than welcome to give me your opinions about that, and I will bring them to a next episode. Thank you. Thanks for being here one more week. If you liked it, please subscribe to the podcast and to the newsletter in alejandroperezperez.com. Please share both with your friends and relatives, and don't forget to give me 5 stars in Apple Podcast and Spotify. See you next week. Bye bye.